Join the Council for the Model Aquatic Health Code, aka CMAQ. CMAQ is a member-driven organization that keeps the Model Aquatic Health Code sustainable, current, and complete. Your expertise is needed. Learn more at cmac.org. That's cmahc.org.
Hey everyone, it's Tuesdays with Kelly and Dan. Hey Dan.
Hey Kelly, how are you?
I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I know you had a lot going on today. I know we talked earlier about some things that you were running into out in the field, and hopefully you were able to get through some of that at least to a certain point.
To a certain point.
Yeah.
Well, also I did my building class through Genesis virtually this week.
Oh yeah, right.
So that took up, 4 hours Monday through Thursday. And because of the time difference, it was from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I could really work a lot.
Sure.
Go check on my startups. And then I just saved like my warranties and repairs for today and then tomorrow. But that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot of stuff from it. I was surprised though at how much I already knew.
Sure.
So that was pretty cool. I definitely recommend taking it because there's things they'll explain why things happen and stuff.
Which course did you take?
I took the building class on concrete pools.
Okay.
Because where I live, a majority of our pools are plaster concrete pools.
Mm-hmm.
Don't growl. Sorry.
I will try not to growl, I promise.
My little dog is definitely has the little dog syndrome around the big dog.
All right. Sorry, I thought that was directed to me. Never mind.
But yeah, they talked about geo reports, making sure you know what's in the ground before you even start the dig. We talked about engineers, what they do. Like, they didn't make you a professional in geoengineering or whatever it's called, but at least you're aware of it. And then we talked about waterproofing, damp proofing, gunite or shotcrete, plaster, plaster issues, tile, Jesus, what else? Lots of stuff, tons of it. So pretty much the whole entire build process from beginning to end.
Awesome. So this was a PHTA Genesis course.
Yes.
And it's something that you did not necessarily as a result, but it certainly helped you to be able to do it from award that the scholarship that you won, right?
Yes.
Recently.
I got to use the Greg Garrett scholarship money towards this class. What's nice is even though I took one class that is, an investment in my future career, I'm still able to take probably another one, if not a small one as well with it. So believe me, when it comes to these classes that I like to call it kind of like in college, the upper level courses. So you're not your freshman lower level units. These are the upper ones, like the big boys. These are the classes to get you to the top. They do have a bigger price tag, but it's worth it, in my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree that the level, and especially the PHTA Genesis education, is at a level that is a very high, very detailed level. And so you took the concrete or shotcrete / gunite course. They also have a vinyl fiberglass course. And then beyond that, they have other, hydraulics and, all these other courses that get even more into details. So are you done with that now? The course you took it this week and you're done?
Class. Because we did it virtually, it was, instead of a 24-hour course like it is when you're in person for 3 days, 8 hours a day, this one, because they've learned during COVID, it's hard to sit in front of Zoom for that long. They do 4 hours a day for 4 days, which is 16 hours. You are expected to do 8 hours of studying. And then also they have a fluid hydraulic class that you have to take before you can even apply to get certified in this course. And that's a 4-hour class that you have to do that if you do it virtually, they'll send you a link so you can get to that video. And when you're done taking that class, it will let them know you completed it.
Okay. So you did the gunite course, then you do the hydraulics essentially course, and then for certification, is it a test that's done
Yep.
or
Yeah,
okay?
you have to take a test. It's over 100 questions. You
Hmm.
get 3 hours to do it.
Okay.
And they said that you can do it online, but you do have to pay a small fee because they'll have to have somebody,
A proctor.
a
Yeah.
proctor do it. They have to you have to show them the whole room so they know you're not cheating and all
Right.
of that. Or they do let us know when they will have in-person testing.
Sure.
And from my understanding, don't quote me on this one though, I believe if you do the in-person, you don't have a fee.
Yeah, I think that there are multiple levels of fees. When you do the online stuff, I think there's always a fee for the exam. But when you do it online, there's an additional fee for the online proctoring component of it.
Yeah.
So, to that point, we have maybe a dozen of our employees that are going through right now the PHTA certified pool inspector course.
Hmm.
And it's an online course that they're taking, followed by then a proctored exam. And there was a fee for the exam and then a fee for the remote proctoring. It's not significant. I think the proctoring might have been $40 or $50 on top of the exam fee. So I think if you were to go in person to take the exam for what the course is that you just did, there's going to be a fee, but it'll be less than if you were to do it in a virtual or an online kind of a format because of the proctoring component. But
Right.
it's interesting with the proctoring. So we just started this CPI, certified pool inspector course with our staff, and I think we've had 3 or 4 that have tested already. But it's funny how the testing scenario for those who might look to do this, just to be aware, is different slightly by whoever it is that you happen to get as a proctor. So our staff goes into a conference room. It's the same room that they're all in. And there is a large, I'll say a large screen TV on one wall that's used when we're in there doing presentations and things like that. The TV is off, and one of our employees, he came in, he grabbed me, he said, "Hey, how do I unplug that TV?" Well, this thing's mounted on the wall, and the outlet is like directly behind it, and truly the only way to get to it, you got to like take the whole TV down to be able to unplug it. I said, "Unplug it for what?" Well, the proctor says I have to unplug the TV. Like, that's not going to happen. Like we're talking about a half hour worth of work to tear this TV off of the wall to be able to unplug the thing. That's crazy. And we've done other testing in the same room and have never had anyone say that. So with that, I told him, I said, "Well, that proctor's gone, right?" "Yeah, they told me I had to figure out how to unplug the TV and then to come back in and, start again." I said, "Just go start again." And the next proctor never even mentioned the TV or anything else, but they make you take the camera and show it around the room to know that you don't have your phone a friend or whatever sitting in the room that's going to help you with the exam and all that kind of stuff to keep it kind of on the up and up. But this one proctor was just, in my mind, just a little bit over the top. But so at any rate, well, another one of our employees, the first one that went to take the exam, we had him set up in a different office because the conference room was in use at that point. And it was another employee's office who was off that day. And he started the thing, and the proctor said, "Oh, that bulletin board on the wall, there's all kinds of stuff, stuck to that. We need that bulletin board taken down. And this thing over here, we needed that taken down." And he said, "This isn't my workspace. I'm not going to tear down
Yeah.
everything in this office, because you're telling me that this is like the stuff on this." And he showed on the bulletin board with the camera what was up there, and it was like phone numbers of vendors that we commonly reach out to and things like that. It was absolutely nothing to do with the exam or whatever, but the proctor was like, nope, that's all got to go. And he's like, okay. So he came and talked to me about it and then went back into the same space, got a different proctor next time around, and it was all good. So,
Oh my gosh.
at any rate, I guess for anyone who may be taking those kind of things in a virtual or online format, just be aware that some of the proctors are um, a little bit crazy and their expectations. And if you have the ability of just saying, oh, okay, well, let me do that, and then I'll come back into it, even if you're not able to do whatever they asked for, if you go back into it, you'll probably find the next proctor is like, all right, go for it. You're all good without making any alterations to it. So,
Oh my
but
gosh, that's
anyway,
funny.
yeah.
So we did have somebody ask us a question. It's from Derek Black Bear, and it says training classes / hands-on. Do you know if there's a listing of where to get trainings for repairs, etc., by region or just in general?
Uh,
Well, we've talked about this before a little bit, but I guess for me, talk to your reps. They'll know when there's trainings going on. Pentair, they have their training every year in different places. Talk to Jandy, same thing. I believe they also have now a big training they do
yeah.
periodically in different locations. Talk to your Hayward rep. I heard they're starting to do trainings again in different areas as well.
Hayward, a handful of years, I think it was just prior to COVID, they built up these training vans, these, Mercedes Sprinters,
Oh,
I
the
think at the time.
MTVs.
Oh my God, those things are amazing.
Yes, the
So
MTV.
I don't know how many they have across the country, but
Oh, they have quite a few. Yeah.
those are really, really neat. I know the Atlantic City show, which is coming up in January. I think it's the third week of January. Look for the pool and spa show, I think is what you want to Google. Literally, the pool and spa show. It's NESPA, Northeast Swimming Pool Association's trade show or whatever you want to call it. That is really one of the best sources of education for anyone
I've
who
heard
can
that
can
a
make it to
lot.
that. It's amazing. It really is. NESPA has always been kind of at our level, right? So we're what I say is the boots on the ground. Their show was always focused on education first, and then there's also a trade show going on besides, where some of the other trade shows are a little bit more about the trade show and education is kind of secondary to it. But NESPA's show is really good. And other shows around the country too. The Everything Under the Sun in Florida is great. I know out by you've
The
got a
Western
couple.
show is a big
Okay.
one.
Yeah,
Then
Western.
and then we have the Pie Show, and then international show when it does hit Vegas.
Yeah, which it'll be there. It was there this year. It'll be there again next year. Aqua Magazine had their first show. The show to attend forever was Aqua Magazine show. Their show was the industry event that no one missed. And a number of years ago, I'm going to say that they sold the show to what is now the Expo. But Aqua started doing a show again this year. They did it in Charlotte, which was, as I understand, really, really well received. And it's kind of like the NESPA show, and probably the Western show. I've never been, but based, where it's about education first, and everything else is ancillary. It's about learning, networking, and yeah, we've also got vendors here that'll show you their stuff if you are so inclined. But so the Aqua Show, which I don't know where they're going to be next year, but that'll be another one. There are all these different opportunities out there, right? That regionally you don't have to necessarily travel real far. There's so many shows today. I know Rudy has been posting on social media and stuff about every time you turn around, there's another show, right? There's this show, that show, and this will, but that is, Google the stuff and find where it's at. We've got so many different sources for in-person education as you want to try to get it. So Western Show, you said, where's that one at?
Long Beach, California.
And is it always Long Beach?
Yep. Every single year. It's in March. It's usually sometime in March. This year it's at the end of March.
Okay.
The education classes there, they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they do have a really good show that they put on too. If you're on the West Coast, that's definitely one I would highly recommend to go to.
Okay, good. I know Everything Under the Sun is another great source on the other side of the country, down in Florida, Orlando area, I think is where that's at. NESPA in the Northeast. The Midwest area, the Midwest PHTA chapter is in early March of 23 going to have a training event. COVID has kind of put things on a back burner in that chapter, but this year they're going to resurrect it. And where you did the Genesis gunite course, I know that PHTA is going to have the Genesis vinyl and fiberglass course at that event, along with PHTA's certified maintenance specialist, certified service technician, CPO, all the PHTA courses will be there along with manufacturer training and all that kind of stuff. I'm part of the Midwest chapter, so we're just in the, I guess I'll say final stages of ironing out the details of that show. That's another area. If any of you listeners are in the Midwest, you might look to the Midwest PHTA chapter and their education event. The week of March 6th is actually when that one's going to be, which is kind of a good timing, I think, in that, especially in our region, that's when everything is kicking off for the season. We're just getting geared up and ready to go. So that might be a good opportunity. But outside of those regional events, we've also got manufacturer training that is available in a number of different ways, right?
You'll have them where they do have these bigger training events. Pentair has their, 2-day training that they do. You pay whatever the fee is. But if you think about it, when you go to these events, they have food for you for, breakfast and lunch and, cocktail hour. And then they do the trainings and they have giveaways. Like, they have some good giveaways. So even though you're putting that money up to go, which again, putting the investment into your career, that should be a no-brainer of doing it. You get more out of it than what you're paying for doing it. Zodiac does the same thing. Hayward, I hear, is supposed to start doing something similar. Look at their websites. They'll post stuff about be in contact with your rep.
Have you heard there is a group of pool service professionals nationwide that are here to help grow and protect your business? The Independent Pool and Spa Service Association, known as IPSA, is here to help you. By joining the largest trade organization created by and for pool and spa service techs, you gain access to industry networking opportunities, exclusive educational offerings, IPSA's Tech for Tech route coverage, and more. So be independent, supported, and part of a professional community. Go to ipssa.com to learn how to be a member of IPSA today.
Check out trade associations because these reps go to their meetings every month. If it's IPSA or PHTA or whatever organization. And they also have stuff like webinars. I know Jandy has webinars and Hayward has their webinars that they do throughout the winter. So you could be participating in those and learning. Another great thing about trade associations is you do meet other professionals that are maybe more experienced than you are. And you can ask, hey, can I shadow you? Can I call you when I have questions? And they're willing to, in those organizations, that's where you're usually going to find the people who want to help you out. Right. Now, don't expect to get paid your hourly rate to go learn something. Again, investment. Me, I told you before, I went out training twice a week for 6 months. I didn't get paid for it, but
Right.
the way I looked at it was, yes, I put these free hours out, but look at where I'm at now because I did that.
Right. And to that point, so our industry is one that has so much availability for training that has, often it's for no cost, or if there is a cost, it's very minor. And when you look at other, say, life tracks, right? If you were to go to college today to try to get a degree to become, professional in any area, you're going to spend $100,000 to $200,000
I
with
spent
no.
$60,000
Okay.
for a degree that I do not use.
Right. And you're going to spend, 2 to 4 years or more in college. During that time, you're not making any money unless you have side jobs, right? Working at a pizza place, or,
Or you're
who
going to
knows.
school at night, so you work a full-time job.
Yeah, right. All these different things. Our industry is one that, you can work a job and get paid for it. And all of this training is available for low or very little cost to you by comparison. You're not going
Yeah.
to spend $100,000 going to a Pentair 2-day training event.
No.
And what you'll gain out of it, though, is certainly something that is going to make you better at what you do, and as a result, make you more profitable in what you're doing because you're more knowledgeable about what it is that you're actually doing out there.
You can also, okay, think about it this way. You're 18 years old. You say, oh, this is going to be my major. By the time you actually are done, you probably changed your major 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
sure.
no, I like this more because I started learning about it, or I like this more. Well, in our industry, you could do that too, where, oh, I want to do entire equipment sets. And then you learn, I don't really like doing plumbing. I love doing electrical.
Yeah,
Or I love
absolutely.
doing programming. And you can tailor your course of how you do what trainings you get and stuff with that. So you can have a specialty, which highly recommend to have a specialty. Yes, it's great to know how to do a lot of things, but it's also, you want to be the one sought after for that specialty.
Right.
And you could do it, like you said, for not that much. So you're not wasting that $15,000, $20,000 because you decide to change your major again.
Right. So if you end up taking a Genesis, shotcrete pool course, and you invest your 16 or 32 hours or whatever it is into that course, you're not getting necessarily paid for that, depending on how you're doing it. I know, and to that point, I know there are a lot of employers out there that will actually pay for that course for you and pay you while you go through that course. And to that extent
Take
as
advantage.
well, PHTA had worked extensively in the last couple of years, and there is now a federally recognized apprenticeship program through PHTA.
And then you also have the one that's out here in California.
In California, absolutely. Right. So you in those environments, then you are actually being paid, and your employer rather is covering the cost of the course. The Genesis course that you just did is, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm guessing it's somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 worth of course.
It is, if you are a member, it's like $2,100. If you're not a member, it's about $2,500.
Okay. So it's not a small amount, but in an environment where an employer is sending you through that course, obviously it's a huge benefit to you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
But even outside of that, and the Genesis courses are the higher level courses. The other PHTA courses are not, $2,500 courses. You can go and take a CMS course that I think is $500 or $600.
If you look at putting that $2,000 up for Genesis, construction class, look at what the possibilities you have in the building sector. You know, it is a lot more money that you could possibly make. Not saying that the other classes aren't beneficial. Believe me, they are, because I've been taking them. But don't think just because it has a $2,000, you know, tag that it's not, oh, that's not worth me to take, I guess is
Right.
what I'm saying. Like,
No.
but hey, let's say you don't want to build pools. Then that's not the direction you can take, and that's fine.
Right.
Now,
And,
me
you know,
personally, I think it's good to know how a pool is built to understand more of how it works.
Right. It's a better rounding out of your knowledge and your experience. And with that, a $2,000 course, again, if we go back to the people who are college bound.
You're paying more than $2,000 to take English class again.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's like,
you know,
I think when I was in college, I was paying $134 a unit, and each class was what, 5 or 6 units?
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and I've got my son in May just graduated. I know we've talked about this in the past from college. My daughter is a junior this year in college, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot more than $2,000.
Yeah.
And that $2,000 course will definitely give you exposure to things that you never even knew, make you a better person, a better service professional, or expose you to things that make you think that, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be turning a wrench all the time. Maybe I want to go into either design or construction or even administration aspect of things that opens a whole new world to you beyond
now
what
here
you've
is
been doing.
another perk of taking, you know, different courses wherever, is most of those fees that they give you a book for free.
Right.
And the reason I point that out is because I remember when I was in college, my books per semester, when I would buy brand new, were thousands of dollars.
Right.
You know, and then I got smart and was like, nope, we're going to
Right.
go on Amazon and get the used one that's an edition below.
But even with that, at the end of the semester when you were done, what did you do?
Sold them.
Sold them back. You didn't want them anymore, right? But the books that you get in these courses are something you put on a shelf, and it becomes the encyclopedia that you have to refer back to.
Look what I just pulled off my bookshelf.
There you go.
See,
How to Get Rid of Swimming Pool Algae, which is probably a book that every one of us needs to have. I know, you know, you can get that on Amazon, and there's even a certification course.
Here's the one you're talking about.
What one's that?
Pool and Spa Inspector.
Inspector. Okay, so you did that course?
Yep.
Well, look at that. So are you a pool inspector now?
I was trying to find a course to help me with pool inspections on residentials, and that was more for a commercial.
That is more commercial, right?
Now, I do think it was a great class to take to understand more of what, like, obviously every county, every state has a different regulation, but overall that covers quite a bit that's universal. And I thought that was really good for me when I did commercial pools, how to keep things up and what was going to be looked for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you know, like I said, we've got about a dozen of our staff going through it right now, and a few of them have already tested. It's a bit of a challenging course. It's kind of surprising.
I will be completely honest, I had to do the course twice.
Okay.
But I have like a learning disability, so it takes me a little. So like in college, for example, I would be able to get extra time for tests. I would, like, for me, taking the building class exam online is better because I'm not looking at everybody, and I just focus on myself and I'm good to go. But that's just my learning abilities.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's probably lots of people in our industry who are exactly the same, and it's okay.
Oh, God, yeah.
And please don't allow those, I call them little hiccups, or you could call them little perks of yourself, but don't let those stop you from taking these classes either.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with watching the class online, you know, a couple times. Like, it happens.
Right. You know, it's kind of interesting. I had a conversation with, actually, we were talking about Pentair, you know, one of the main people who has been in the, I'll say, research and development aspect of Pentair for decades. I know through the course of the last handful of years, he's the kind of person that has told Pentair, "Hey, you know what? I'm retiring," and they keep saying, "Oh no, you're not." Well, like you're going to stick around. What do you need? That kind of stuff, because he's such an invaluable person and a good friend of mine. But at any rate, I ran into him at the expo in Vegas, honestly,
Okay.
and caught up with him because it's been a few years because of COVID and that since I've seen him in person. And as I'm talking to him, he knows a number of our employees and that, and he asked about a particular individual, and I said, "Oh, he's doing phenomenally," and he's the guy that if ever we have a situation that isn't I'll say a black and white book situation, I will tell our staff, send him. His name is Tyler, and I say send Tyler. He will figure it out. It's just his nature. He knows how to get from A to Z and make it all work without having to have a blueprint as to how to get there. And he says, "Oh, that's great. Tyler, he knows Tyler." He says he's a great guy. I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You know what? I didn't know, but I found out, maybe a year or two ago that Tyler's dyslexic."
Uh-huh.
And it was something that wasn't identified by his, teachers through school until if I recall, it was in high school. So, at that point, a number of years of education and lagging because he had this issue was going on. And it's amazing how I think that actually has become a huge asset to him because he found ways on his own to be able to navigate through and figure things out, even though he had this I'm going to say learning disability, but that's not in a negative context in any way.
Like a hiccup or a perk.
Yeah, right. For him, it made him stronger, made him a better thing. So this gentleman that I was talking to, he said, "You know what? I'm going to tell you, when you get back, you ever get an opportunity to talk to Tyler, and Tyler knows me, and again, this guy's been in the industry forever and is truly a brilliant person and someone that I admire greatly." He said, "I'm dyslexic." And he said, "I was not identified until I think he said I was 23 years old before they finally figured out that I'm dyslexic." And he said, "I have difficulty reading. I have difficulty with numbers." And, we were in an area, on the trade show floor. And he said that I could read that sort of display sign over there. I could read it to you, but the way my mind works, it just isn't the same as everyone else. And I spend so much effort just reading it that I don't really acknowledge what I'm reading. And I thought, geez, here's a guy that is really at the pinnacle of our industry in terms of, and the products that he's responsible for having had a great input into them becoming part of our industry, right? Like this is someone that I wish everybody could meet. Had this huge disability that. And he managed through it. So to your point, and I know Rudy talks about it, and I talk about it often. Our industry is the land of misfit toys, and we're all a bunch of misfits, but we work together, and we're a family. We're all in it together, and we all benefit by each other and by ourselves. And there isn't anything that's going to stop any of us if we put our mind to it. And these sources of education that we're talking about are a piece of that puzzle that make us who we are and help us to succeed in an industry that is very welcoming of all of the, if you want to say, misfits. So, Kelly, with your Genesis class and you going through it, you're kind of proving the point, right? That misfits succeed.
Like I know my biggest thing is comprehension when I read. Like I can read it, doesn't mean I can grasp it, But what I did learn over the years is if I read out loud as I'm reading, I comprehend it all.
Oh,
No
okay.
problem.
Yeah.
But that's also where, like I said, me doing the test by myself, I'm fine. In high school, I had an economics class, and I loved the class. It was so much fun. And we had a test, and I failed the test. And the teacher's like, "Hey, anybody who didn't do well, just let me know. I'll meet with you. We'll go over it. Let's find out what's going on." And he was like, "Kelly, like, you know this stuff when we're talking in class, like what's going on." And so he reread the test to me, the questions I missed. And he's like, "You're getting all the answers, but you failed the test." And I'm like, I get a lot of anxiety with tests.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Okay, well, I'm changing your grade because you know the answers," which was really nice. But that allowed me to start learning, okay, there's something going on. If we talk out loud, I'm fine. So that's where it's like, okay, I'm so glad that the Genesis program does have it where you can do it virtually. I'll pay whatever. Like,
Yeah.
so then I can read the question out loud to myself instead of, like I have taken, okay, when I did my National Plaster Council class in Vegas, I just whispered to myself really quietly the question. And so I could, do it. Luckily, I had two Hawaiian guys next to me, so they didn't care.
Yeah.
They're fine. I think they noticed I'm sorry. I kind of at the very beginning was having trouble staying awake. Again, this is just a part of my learning stuff. So, but they would joke with me, and the class was great. I just in-person classes aren't great for me.
Sure.
But at
Sure.
least I can admit that, and I know how to
Yeah.
work around it.
Well,
But that's
yeah.
why I wanted to mention that is I don't want people to be discouraged from going to these trainings because they have these hiccups or perks.
No.
But thank you for listening to us talk again today. If you have any questions, please message us. You can DM us on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, or email us the old school way.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't have a mailbox, like a physical mailbox.
Yeah. Who does
Didn't
anymore?
I know?
Really? What's the point?
But please let us know if there's any questions you have. We will love to cover them, whatever they are. Thank you, IPSA, and thank you to
CMAC for our
CMAC.
partnership with them,
Yeah.
and
We
it's
really appreciate it.
absolutely.
And yeah, so we will talk to you next week.
Everyone, stay safe out there.